Sickos Club.
Sickos Club.
Welcome back, wrestling fans, to another episode of The Hard Way. I'm your host, the toast of the Third Coast, Professor Degree, sometimes known as Cadillac Margarita. With me, as always, my co-host and the host of Sit Down, Shut Up, and Mark Out, I, Blade Daily. And today, we've got a very special announcement. Blade, would you like to take it away?
I do have an announcement, Degree. I think the listeners of The Hard Way have definitely noticed that over the last month and a half or so, Brett Michelle has not been here much. And that's because Brett Michelle has a lot going on in their life. They're taking care of the life business, but nothing bad, nothing drastic. And we're all good. We're all on great terms. But the good news is that's necessitated the end of The Hard Way. And this is one of our very last episodes.
Well, if that's the good news, Blade, I mean, what's the bad news?
Well, the bad news is it's not really bad news for me. It's not really bad news for you. The bad news is for everybody else, because we have a brand new wrestling podcast that we're going to be launching in the very near future. And what's it called, Degree?
It's going to be called Pro Wrestling Forever. We'll be studying the theater of the abstract and the absurd, professional wrestling as we know it, as you like it.
And basically, it's a complete exploration of fandom and of the sweet science of pro wrestling, where, you know, sometimes we're going to dig into a certain type of wrestler. Sometimes we're going to dig into a certain wrestler themselves. Sometimes we're going to dig into the conventional logic of pro wrestling and maybe show why it's not very logical at all. We're going to talk about old merch. We're going to talk about old video games. We're going to talk about events and happenings that have occurred. But what we're not going to do is be gatekeepers. We're not going to be elitists. We're going to have a lot of fucking fun. And that is the whole point of Pro Wrestling Forever. I can't wait.
No gods, no superstars, no gatekeeping. Pro Wrestling Forever will be a podcast by the fans for the fans.
So stay tuned. We'll have the first couple episodes in the Hard Way feed. And then stay tuned because there will be a final episode of the Hard Way forthcoming where Brett will be joining us once again to say goodbye. But let's get to Survivor Series Showdown 1991.
We're just a few days removed from Survivor Series 1991 and Hulk Hogan's gravest challenge.
This is a good time, man, because we are not just we're not discussing Survivor Series 1991. No. We're discussing the Survivor Series Showdown, the special event that would run about a week before these shows aired for the pay-per-view.
Right. I remember watching these at the time. And did they do them for, they did them for like Royal Rumbles and stuff too, right? Like it wasn't just Survivor Series, or was it?
I think so. But basically it aired as like I didn't realize this at the time, but it aired as a special edition of Primetime Wrestling.
Okay.
This aired on November 24th, 1991, so this was like the week of.
They keep saying we're just a few days, because Survivor Series is on a Wednesday. It was the Thanksgiving Eve tradition, right?
Yes.
And they've go ahead.
This would have aired like 2 days before.
Right. So that's kind of crazy. And it's nice. It's a nice look back in time. They don't do things like this anymore.
No.
Not at all. But watching it really kind of hammered home how different wrestling is now than it was then. I think there's 4 or 5 matches on this card, and they're all like, Earthquake. It's the teams from Survivor Series. It's like maybe the captains or other people from the team. And it's unique because if you watched wrestling on Saturday mornings or Sunday mornings, you didn't see these matches. You saw Earthquake versus Barry O, or,
right,
the Mulkey brothers or whatever. You didn't see superstars, or, I mean, that's a WWF term, but like you didn't see big name guys taking each other on. Maybe like there would be one of those matches every week. I'm not sure.
That would be like your main event. Maybe as you would see like Randy Savage taking on a mid-card guy. Or something like that.
Literally everything else was squash matches.
Right.
And The Funeral Parlor, Piper's Pit, whatever, that kind of stuff. Or Mean Gene standing on a podium, like it looked like he was in like a coliseum. I don't even know if it was real or green screen, but like he would just be doing these interviews with people. And he does that on this show too.
Well, and what I know now about production and what I know now, it's so weird to watch this show because you're right, it is green screened. So they had this just persistent wide shot of a crowd, and then they project that onto a green screen. McMahon and Heenan stand in front of that, in a studio. All the commentary is overdubbed. Yeah, for sure. There's definitely
a lot of the crowd sounds overdubbed.
Oh my God. This thing is sweetened like crazy. Oh my God.
Like I don't know if it's technology or if they just didn't give a shit, but like it's very obvious that it's a canned crowd.
If you look at the crowd, they look so tired and indifferent. They don't give a shit about what's happening.
Yeah, because they were probably sitting there for like 6 hours watching them film stuff at a house show or something,
That's exactly what it was, is these tapings that they would do one taping a month for primetime, and they would tape all the matches that were going to air that month in one night.
Oh, wow.
So you would see the results of these cards in PWI, and it would be like 20 matches, it'd be a lot of stuff. And so, and then they would film with Primetime particularly, which was a show I always really enjoyed, but they would, film a bunch of in-studio stuff. There was a lot of, kind of more entertainment-based stuff with Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby Heenan, or Bobby Heenan and Roddy Piper, or whoever. And then eventually Vince and Bobby were the hosts at a certain point. And that's when I saw most of it. At this time, Vince is just a giant goof, and Bobby is absolutely the fucking man. He is fucking hilarious. This is right after the debut of Ric Flair in WWF. He's been there for a couple months, but he's really developing his own on-screen presence. Bobby Heenan was the guy. He brought the belt on TV before Ric Flair was on TV.
Oh yeah.
It said the real world's champion is coming. Ric Flair's coming. And
they showed it. Eventually they started digitizing it, but they fucking showed the belt. That's crazy. I remember it just being blown away at the time. Just like, holy shit. Not only did you get Ric Flair, but you got oh my God, what did you do? How did you get
big
that
gold belt? Right.
Yeah.
No, it was unlike anything you ever expected to experience in wrestling. I had never seen anything like this. It blew my mind. I thought it was so cool. And I remember very clearly, watching this back, because I watched it at the time, and watching it back, you see there's a big plan to have Hogan and Flair, Well,
clearly.
Flair talks about putting his real world championship up against Hogan's WWF championship. They're talking about having a title for title match,
Right.
And can you imagine how mind blowing that would have been? How could they have possibly been persuaded not to do that? That's crazy.
I've heard excuses. I've heard reasons why, and I don't really know that I buy them. I don't, I don't. I just don't. I can't. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever because. Well, I guess we'll get into that as the show goes on.
Yeah. I'm sorry, rambling at the beginning. Jeez.
How would that be any different than any other show?
Whoa.
The thing that they recap at the beginning, Vince and Bobby, they're days away from the Survivor Series. And just a few days ago, Randy Savage got bit by a fucking snake. And that, again, was a super momentous. This is like a really cool time capsule. This was cooler than reviewing a Survivor Series because, number one, you didn't have to sit through 3 hours of questionable wrestling. But also, it gave you this perfect little microcosm of what WWF was like at the time. So the first match is Earthquake with the Mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart as his manager versus the Big Boss Man, Yeah, my first note is that the crowd noise is so obviously piped in.
Yes. Yeah.
What did you think about this match?
It was fine. Big Boss Man is in incredible shape.
Mhm.
And I appreciated that. He had lost a bunch of weight.
Yeah, that dude put a lot of work in.
He put a lot of work in, and the Big Boss Man is criminally underrated still. Like criminally underrated. Like he is absolutely one of the most agile big men. He's not Vader, he's not doing moonsaults and shit. But like the way he can slide around the ring, and the shit he could do, especially around this time, I would say this is his physical prime. He was incredible.
He went to WCW for a while, and when he came back and he was with the McMahon, whatever,
the corporation,
the SWAT, the corporation. I mean, he was still good then. The dude's got a great punch. He's got an absolutely wonderful worked punch. Super likable. Just, I don't know. I like the Big Boss Man. The match itself is basically punches and kicks. Just throwing elbows. One thing that was cool was Boss Man at one point was, because I think Earthquake had already had his feud with Hogan, but he was still pretty badass. Are the Natural Disasters a thing at this point? I think they're
not yet. Oh no, you're right.
But they're teaming because they're on the same team. But Boss Man's just hammering him and hammering and hammering, and he can't get him to go down. And Earthquake's on spaghetti legs, and he finally just puts his hand out and gives him a little push, and then it just topples.
That was a cool spot.
A lot of the matches on this card to me felt like if professional wrestling as a whole is a sport, then the WWF was the Harlem Globetrotters version of that sport.
Right. Yes.
It was goofy even by wrestling standards. It was silly. It was clown-like. There's not a lot of holds. There's not a lot of like technical stuff unless you're Bret Hart. It's just a lot of big. It's like Sesame Street Live. Like they play to the crowd. It's not wrestling. I'll say that.
It's like pro wrestling cotton candy. There's not necessarily a ton of substance to it. However, it's an enjoyable thing. It's an enjoyable experience. And with Earthquake and Boss Man particularly here, I thought that Earthquake played a great heel where he looked like, he could crush another human being, but he wasn't afraid to like do some wacky spots with the Boss Man. And, he understood that he was a true heel. He made the Boss Man look really, really great. Where he was supposed to. And Boss Man plays most of the match on defense. It goes exactly 10 minutes long, and it ends when there's a big run-in. The Boss Man wins by disqualification because the other team runs in. However,
well, first it's just IRS, and he's sitting outside the ring, and again, it's like, it's entertaining as hell. And he says, "You're nothing but a tax cheat. You're just a tax fraud.
You're nothing but a tax cheat, Boss Man."
It's so funny because, any other form of wrestling is I hate you, or, I want the belt, or we have this whatever kind of beef. But this guy was just really concerned that you did your taxes the right way,
Yeah. Or that you didn't do your taxes.
Or that maybe you didn't. Yeah.
Or he would just slander you and say you didn't do your taxes. But yes, his only verbalization during his brief appearance is, "You're nothing but a tax cheat, Boss Man."
That's it.
So I don't want to skip around too much, but there's some that's necessary. So
sure.
The match ends when the whole team Earthquake's going to be on bum rushes the ring.
Right.
And
which is Typhoon, IRS, and Jake the Snake Roberts.
Yes. And then the Legion of Doom, who are the Boss Man's teammates, run down. Later in the card, they come out, and it's explained like, "Hey, like you guys are one man short. What are you going to do? Are you going to go 3-on-4, or are you going to find somebody?" And they kind of beat around the bush. They kind of, it's clear they don't know who it is. And so what ended up happening was at the actual Survivor Series, Jake wasn't on the team anymore. And it was the Big Boss Man and Legion of Doom defeating Erwin R. Scheister and the Natural Disasters in a 3-on-3 Survivor Series match. So there you go.
Wow. Because, later on in the show, they talk about, we'll get to it, I guess, when we get there. I have it in my notes. Mm-hmm. So I'm guessing that's when Jake left for WCW?
No, I think that they kind of got Jake out of the picture so he could be involved with Macho.
Right, because they kept saying that Macho was going to be the guy. Well, we'll get to it. So, okay, anyway, Legion of Doom come down. They've got their belts, which is really weird. At no point during the match do either of the commentators ever talk about the match at all. This is a running thing. This is a running thing in WWF at the time. I hated it at the time. I don't know if they still do it now, but I could not stand it. Back in the early 90s, you're never even talking about the match at all. And granted, there wasn't much to say about the match when the Big Boss Man's major offense was a thumb to the eye. But it just, God, I fucking couldn't stand it. So the next thing they go into is a recap of the funeral parlor. Hulk Hogan had been on, and Ric Flair comes out to confront him. And to your point, he says, do you know how long I've been waiting for this? I've been waiting to do this forever. And he busts out the belt, and it looks like a piece of artwork by Al Creed, our buddy Al. Pixelated, they pixelate all over Flair, everything about him.
Yeah.
If Al was animated somehow. Mm-hmm. And he makes this big deal about, I've been waiting to do this. The casket behind him opens up, and the Undertaker comes out.
Right,
behind Hogan, I'm sorry. And even then, Ric Flair picks up both belts, and he holds them up. Mm-hmm. And that alone was shocking to see someone holding more than one belt at a time, because most people didn't even have a belt, Mm-hmm. It was really cool. So anyway, Piper and Savage, who had heretofore been Hulk Hogan's worst enemies, come out to make the save because they were the bad guy or the good guys.
Well, they were both on commentary with Vince. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Oh, that's why. Okay. Well, that makes sense. A little more sense.
Yeah.
The Undertaker deflects their fucking chair shots, rips the crucifix off of Hulk Hogan's chest, but then he has to put it down because it's burning his hand.
It's burning his hand.
Glove. He can't touch it. And then Piper just fucking rambles, and I have no idea what he's saying at any point.
So
what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so there was a lot here. So, people probably wouldn't, if you're a current WWE watcher, or you've been mostly a WWE watcher really since like the turn of the century, they would have in-ring segments with like, the Jericho's, whatever, I can't remember, whatever they called Jericho's little show, or Miz TV or whatever. Right. But it wasn't like this, where they have an entire set built for this person. Right. And, so there was the funeral parlor, there was the snake pit at one time, there was Piper's pit.
Well, the famous barbershop window.
The barbershop.
Brutus's barbershop.
Brutus's barbershop.
I think... Doesn't it start with like Buddy's Corner with Nature Boy Buddy Rogers?
Yes.
Like, way back in the day. Mm-hmm. And then I think Piper's after that, right?
Piper's after that. Yep.
And
he takes it to a whole new place. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's what it's one of those things where for years, I just thought Piper was the first. And if you guys have never seen it, there's one episode where he hits Jimmy Snuka with a fucking coconut so unbelievably hard, and this coconut shatters into like millions of pieces. I'm sure it was like gimmicked, but Jesus Christ, it looks
I don't know
bad.
if it was. Like, I think he almost broke his fucking neck is what I think. Like,
considering, Snuka did seem like he had some brain damage, so maybe.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. Drugs. But yeah, with that in mind, there's a whole set built for them. And there's these coffins displayed everywhere, and Paul Bearer, oh yeah. And he's, he brings out Ric Flair, and Ric Flair comes out, and like you said, Degree, he's like, you know, do you know how long I've waited for this? And Hogan comes out to kind of, what is Hogan out there, and then Flair comes out?
I think Hogan was being interviewed.
Okay,
and then Flair came out to interrupt him.
Yes, and there's a casket that's standing up,
right,
and it's behind Hogan, and you see that,
and it's a lot of flowers and like dimly lit and all this stuff, you know.
I love the camera angle though that they got, where it's like just to the side and behind the casket, so you see the door open.
Oh yeah,
and
it's horror movie stuff.
It's
cool.
It's creepy. I mean, it really is creepy. And the funeral parlor, it didn't last very long as a show, but there are so many seminal episodes of it. When the Ultimate Warrior gets put in the casket.
Right. And there's a one point where maybe Paul Bearer turned on the Undertaker. I don't know. Somebody got their hands stuck in a casket at some point.
Jake did it.
Jake got his hands stuck in it?
No, Jake did it to the Undertaker. The Undertaker got his hands stuck in it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
So it was cool. It was fun shit. Hogan was young. I mean, they're all young, but like you see it with that dude. I mean, shit. I guess Undertaker and Flair are still alive, and Piper and Savage Hogan are all gone.
Piper, Savage, and Hogan are gone. Paul Bearer's gone.
I don't know if Flair, he's just fucking barely hanging on to life, man. Okay, so the next match is Luke of the Bushwhackers versus Blake Beverly, one half of the Beverly Brothers.
Mike Enos.
They play to the crowd.
Skyscraper himself.
Oh, right on. Yeah. From, was that last episode or 2 episodes ago?
Last episode.
Whatever.
Yeah.
It's nothing to speak of. The best part of the match is that Luke bites his ass. That's
this match absolutely sucks. And all Butch does, and there's 2 matches that do this. So the Destruction Crew from the AWA have been turned into the Beverly Brothers. And it's not a subtle messaging thing to say that they portrayed as rather randy, rather fancy boys. And fancy boys. Yeah. Well, we'll just say that. And Luke and Butch, obviously the Bushwhackers, former sheep herders, are not fancy boys. And all Luke does, he gets in the ring and he does his stupid strut, which I haven't seen in a really long time. And it's dumber now than the last time I saw it. And he just goes, whoa!
Yeah, and the crowd responds, yeah, because that was all they did.
Yes, and he does that for this is a 6.5 minute match, and
that's much that's his offense.
He does this for 3 minutes of the 6 minute match, and Blake Beverly is just really confused. What do I do here? They have a few minutes of trying to wrestle where Blake's on offense. Then he gets his ass bitten. And then he gets rolled up.
Luke chases the Genius backstage.
Yes, that's right.
And he is gone for, I'm going to say, roughly a 75 count. There's no possible way he wouldn't. I mean, I think they go to commercial and he comes back with the mortarboard on his head.
Yeah.
And he gets him in a weird little roll up. There's nothing to speak of. The only thing worth mentioning is maybe a year or 2 before this happened, we went to a WWF house show and we were seated on the entrance and the Bushwhackers were coming down to the ring, and I was, I don't know, 12 or 13 or something. And I went, whoa. And then they licked my head.
Oh, wow.
And they went on. So
was it as great
that's how I have hepatitis. No. Yes. That's not how you can get hepatitis.
These two would end up being part of a match. The Nasty Boys and the Beverly Brothers teamed to defeat the Bushwhackers with the Rockers.
Yeah, and that would have
Coincidentally
been
enough, it's the
that would have been a
longest
bathroom break for me at that time.
longest match of the show too.
Yeah.
Wow. 23
I did
minutes.
not like the Bushwhackers. I think a
No.
lot of people didn't. I mean, they were like a kid gimmick, which is ironic because they were the sheep herders and they were like known for being super violent before the WWF.
They could cut some good, like some really funny promos just because they clearly understood what their mission was and what their job was. And they were like stupid in what they said, but you could tell they were kind of smart in real life.
Sure. They knew what they were doing.
They knew what they were doing. So I hated their wrestling. I hated when they won matches. I hated their finisher.
Stand them.
Yeah.
Because wasn't their finisher that one guy would grab the other guy's head and they would like use like a battering ram or something?
Yes. He would basically grab the guy like you were going to do a bulldog.
Yeah.
And just run into somebody with his head and then pin him. Like dumb.
Again, this is where it gets back into... No, but it gets back into like it's a caricature of professional wrestling. It's it's a Harlem Globetrotters thing. It's not like the Harlem Globetrotters aren't really great basketball players, but it's just, they're throwing confetti at each other and shit. I'm sure if you were 7, the Bushwhackers would have been great. I was not, and you might have been 7 because I was like 12 or something.
I was 11.
Okay,
so you would have been like 14.
Oh, Jesus, so. In 91? Yeah, 91, I was like 14. I was thinking a couple years earlier, but yeah, like they're just terrible. Next up, Mean Gene is being interviewed in front of what is now, I know for a fact, is a green screen. He says that Macho Man should be reinstated. Jack Tunney should come to his senses. He's joined by the Big Boss Man and the Legion of Doom. Mean Gene very clearly likes Big Boss Man's music just as much as I do because it is great theme music. When I was a kid at that same show, so I guess not a kid, maybe I was like 11, 12, whatever. I guess that's a kid, but almost a teenager because this was my freshman year. Anyway, I bought a cassette tape and it had Big Boss Man, the Bushwhackers, the Rockers, and Demolition's theme songs on them. And like, Demolition and Boss Man obviously were my very favorites.
Yeah.
Those are super cool. Yeah. So he's like dancing to it, whatever. Hawk says that the best possible way to get out of this match would be if they were to spontaneously combust and die because what they're going to put them through is going to be a lot worse. So now I have to come to a question for you. There's a commercial for the Survivor Series and they show all the people and above Jim Neidhart and Sid Justice are little things that say out. Do you have any recollection? I have no memory of this.
This is what I live for. This is the kind of shit I live for. So I don't think it's Sid. I think that's Mr. Perfect, actually.
Oh, maybe it was. Maybe.
Yeah.
Because would Sid have been around at this point?
Sid would have just showed up recently.
Because he's the referee for SummerSlam.
That's at
right?
SummerSlam 91.
Okay.
So that would have been before this. But so yes, they have an X like over Perfect and it says out and an X over Jim Neidhart, who definitely got fired for smoking crack. That says
that's
out.
All.
Jim Neidhart was always getting fired and hired.
Yeah, I was going to say like I feel like Jim Neidhart's career was more of like a favor to Brett or to Stu more than anything else.
Yeah, I think it's Stu because he was married into the Hart family. And so,
yeah, because Brett talks about that in his book, like Stu calling every so often, and hey, can you get him? You got a spot for him?
Jim and Davey Boy were
right.
Kind of the same type of guy. They were kind of getting into trouble, and then Stu getting him out of trouble, and that kind of thing. So, Neidhart had been fired. Perfect had been very badly injured. He had a terrible back injury. He had dropped the Intercontinental title to Bret Hart at SummerSlam. And that was Brett's first Intercontinental title. It was, to that point, the biggest win of his career, the biggest moment of his career. I still love that match. But Perfect is clearly very injured during that match. And he's really trying hard to do everything he can to help get Brett over. But then you don't see him again for a really long time. And he eventually shows up on this show. When I say really long time, I mean a month or two. And he shows up as Ric Flair's executive consultant or whatever they call him. So So Perfect is out, and this just shows you, though, they would have known that Perfect was injured like in the summer. So this just shows you how far in advance they had to put these cards together, and how far in advance, just due to the nature of media, right? To get the posters printed, to get the shirts made, to get, the magazines printed, to get the ads for all that stuff done. They had to make sure that these cards were configured 5-6 months in advance, and so people would leave the promotion and they would have to be replaced or whatever. And there's a bunch of switching around that happens on this show, as we said in this very match. When they're doing the promo,
the Jake the Snake thing.
Yeah, Jake is pulled from the match. Now, you're gonna tell us when we get to the part where they show the Savage thing, right?
We're almost there.
Okay. I'll wait.
But I do want to ask. I do have a couple more questions, though.
Yeah, please.
For your sage-like wisdom. So keep in mind, fans, listeners, I guess. So this is 1991. Mm-hmm. This is leading up to WrestleMania 8. Okay, well, Survivor Series, and then which would be followed by the Royal Rumble, and then WrestleMania 8. At WrestleMania 7, which was, I think, the first pay-per-view my buddies and I ever got, Randy Savage lost a retirement match to the Ultimate Warrior. So you're going through all this time of, can we reinstate him? He had, Liz had come back and all this stuff is happening. This is what leads to his reinstatement. 1 year after his retirement, he was facing Ric Flair for the World Championship, which I think is hilarious.
And Warrior wasn't even in the company anymore. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So after the commercial for the Survivor Series, we get a flashback from last week. A lot of warning about just how vicious this is going to be if you're weak of heart, or if, as Bobby Heenan says, if you're a wimp, you might want to leave the room. Jake the Snake is wearing those cool blue pants with the fucking flames on them. Any video game you buy now, if Jake the Snake is on that game, these are the pants he's wearing. Okay. He's got this satin glove that goes up to his bicep, I guess.
Yeah.
And he starts talking about that guy in the orange hat, and Savage goes, "He's talking about me."
Yeah.
That was my favorite line of the whole night. Was there something that you wanted to say before we get any further into this?
So just to be clear, this is not the Showdown itself. This is a flashback to the segment from
just a few days earlier, or a week earlier,
where this had aired the weekend prior. Right?
They're very vague about the time. They keep just saying a few days away, a few days ago. So,
because the footage is being shot. They're not maybe sure of the air date of the special yet.
Oh,
they're
yeah,
not sure.
Maybe they recorded this 6 months before it even happened. I don't know. They had to clear the snake first.
Well, so this show was filmed in Utica, New York. Or I'm sorry, no. This show was filmed in Springfield, Illinois. My apologies. Really? At the Prairie Capital Convention Center in front of 4,500 Ravenous fans. They would like you to believe they were Ravenous fans because they're not. And
no. What was Ravenous though?
What?
That fucking King Cobra that Jake the Snake unveiled.
Oh, I also was wrong. So I'm on a Wikipedia page that has the results for all the different Survivor Series showdowns, and I was reading the wrong one. They were in Utica, New York, at the War Memorial Auditorium in front of 5,000 people.
Oh,
5,000 very tired people.
Oh God! And there were children in the crowd when this happens. So they show children in the crowd crying. I don't think they were crying because of the snake. I think they were crying because they were bored. Let me go home, Mom.
It is absolutely wild that they did what they did. So I'm sorry. So I've set the scene. Let's describe what actually happened. So yes, Jake's in the ring, and for some reason turns his ire towards Randy Savage. He had planted a snake, remember, in their wedding gift.
Yeah.
That's how this whole thing started. Okay, that was months before. So Jake had been kind of torturing Elizabeth and torturing Macho ever since they got married. And The Undertaker was kind of his muscle, if you will.
Yeah. What was it that caused Jake to turn heel?
He turned on the Ultimate Warrior.
He had been a face up to that point. Okay, and why did he turn?
Remember, he was like,
yeah,
training.
because the Warrior needed his help to train against Papa Shango, and he locked. Okay, and that's why Jake's music opens with him saying, "Trust me," which was cool as shit, dude. And I like Papa Shango too. Anyway,
I
go
do
on.
too. I do too. I know we're all over the place. So
we're setting a scene, folks.
Jake had turned heel about 6 months before all this.
Because he didn't like the Warrior any more than any of the rest of us did.
Right.
And he wanted to kill him, and he trapped him in a room full of snakes.
And let a cobra bite him, and then left him to die, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a camera guy just filming it. And
that's a common theme in the WWF at the time, is that no one helps anyone at any point.
Yeah, especially the crew. So anyway.
No.
What the fuck?
We'll get to that. So Savage gets to the ring and he gets tied up in the bottom two ropes, right?
Well, so hold on. So Jake's cutting this promo on Savage, and I have to say, this is not the Jake Roberts promo that you're used to, where it's like that kind of breathy, whispery, like menacing. It's he's just being kind of a southern dickhead heel.
Oh, he keeps saying you're hiding behind a skirt. Maybe you should wear Piper's skirt.
Right, exactly.
It's not that treacherous, Jake.
No. And so Savage runs down. So I didn't like his promo on Savage to begin with. And then Savage runs down, and Jake's just ready for him. He just meets him as he's getting in. He ambushes him. And then,
Savage has been out of the ring for a few months. He's not in ring shape anymore.
I'll tell you what else is a little off here. Randy Savage's attire is offensive. In the extreme. So he is wearing an orange cowboy hat with a neon green cut up tank top. With hot pink pants.
Yeah.
Tights
and cowboy boots
that are orange, that are bright. Like, this is the most
dressed
color.
In the dark.
Holy shit. Who let him out? Who let him out?
Dude, neon had just been invented. It was a brand new thing in clothing, you know?
This is the loudest, grossest. Yeah. I hope they make this action figure of Savage someday. It's crazy. Crazy. So anyway, Savage gets in the ring. Jake immediately ambushes him. Savage has no chance. He gets short arm clotheslined, I think on the apron, before he even actually makes it in the ring.
Yeah,
and then,
I think you're right.
And then he rolls under the ropes. Jake puts his arms in the bottom two ropes, which is very unusual. So Savage is like sitting on his ass with his arms in the ropes. Jake goes and they're like, what's he going to do next? Jake goes, and Piper's on commentary with Vince, I think.
Right.
And Piper's like, get out of there, Randy. He can't fucking move, Roddy. Right. You know, like, so then Jake goes to his fucking bag and pulls out the giant cobra.
Yeah.
Now look, Jake was one of the most popular wrestlers in the company for years before this. And it was not uncommon for him to defeat somebody and then drape a snake on them, right? So people wanted to see. But that's all he ever did. You know, the snake was a python. It didn't kill anybody. But this is a fucking king cobra.
It's huge, too.
It's huge, and it's like a...
Yeah.
And he slaps the fucking snake to make it even more pissed off. And then he fucking latches on to Randy Savage's arm. Or
and
his forearm.
Gnawing on his arm, dude.
It's eating him.
It's crazy to see. And I'm sure that you can just go find this on YouTube. You know, a snake eating a human being or whatever. It's probably the year 2026. But in 1991, you didn't see that kind of shit anywhere.
And they showed it uncensored.
Yeah.
And then they showed this as a replay uncensored.
Yeah.
And I really couldn't believe it because you know the irony of that whole thing is they continue to say, call this hotline to ask for Randy Savage to be reinstated. And they blur that the fuck out. They censor that.
But they don't blur this.
But they don't blur Savage getting devoured by a snake.
My favorite part about it is you're seeing all this happen. They cut to the crowd. You see moms, and the moms are disgusted. You see little kids, and they're turning their heads, into their father's chest because their father's holding them. But the dad, they show this one dad, and he's got this glint in his eye like, oh shit. And that dude is excited to see this.
This was legit nightmare fuel. Like,
it was crazy.
It was insane. First of all, fuck snakes. Okay. Like, I'm not a snake guy. I'm not a snake guy. Like,
snakes are cool. They're fine.
I can handle spiders. I don't mind spiders.
Nope.
But snakes, are you anti-spider or are you?
No, I don't even like to watch videos of spiders and stuff. Like, I am very much not a spider person.
So there's exceptions to the rule. But what I find is people either don't like spiders or they don't like snakes.
Snakes don't bother me. I held a snake one time, and it's really cool. It's like one big, weird, giant muscle that's like it's creepy, but it's cool. I don't mind rats either, but spiders.
Rats don't bother me. But
I don't even really like the Shelob stuff in Lord of the Rings, dude. I don't like spiders at all.
Yeah. Okay. So you have this snake. And Savage is bleeding all over the place. Roddy has run down to the ring. Then this
Roddy
medical
takes a really long time, and Roddy gets down there at the same time as, like, I think it was Gorilla Monsoon, and he pushes Gorilla Monsoon in front of him at one point. Like, here, you old man, you go save him. Which is what I do when I'm like in haunted houses with my wife and stuff.
Yes. You're like, save me
in front.
Take the girl.
But I didn't think that Roddy Piper would be as cowardly as I am.
Yeah. So Savage, so he runs down there with the medical teams down there. Elizabeth then runs down, and she's screaming like, this is more than you've ever seen Elizabeth do this.
Yeah.
Ever. And she is really selling the terror of this whole thing. And Piper tries to get in the ring, and then Jake like points the cobra at him, and Piper gets back down. He's like, whoa. Like, I'm not.
Yeah.
Don't fuck with me.
Piper's afraid of snakes too.
Finally, Piper gets in the ring. There's two medical dudes who are looking at Savage, and Piper punches one of them and like moves him out of the way. And I'm like, what? Like you're not helping him. I'll help him. Like, what are you going to do, Roddy? You going to suck the poison out? And so then Savage is untethered from the ropes and makes this big show about getting up and trying to throw punches and falling down like he's been poisoned, by a cobra.
It's already taken effect.
Yes. And Savage keeps punching himself out. Then they finally get him down. We get him out of the ring onto a stretcher, and they start rolling him out of there. And Piper looks all concerned, and everybody looks really worried. And then Savage rolls off the stretcher and tries to go get back in the ring, and everybody kind of looks at him like, what the fuck, dude? And then they have to go get him again, and they put him back on the stretcher and wheel him out. And they say, thankfully, medical professionals were able to attend to Randy Savage before anything, any lethal consequences occurred. The rest of the show is every single person going, we fully expect that Jack Tunney will do the right thing and reinstate the Macho Man. We fully expect that he will be at Survivor Series, if not as a wrestler, certainly as he will be there. Mm-hmm. They clearly don't know what this story is going to be yet. They haven't decided because they're also planning this experimental pay-per-view for a few days after this.
Right. Which is this Tuesday in Texas,
Tuesday in Texas the next week.
Yep.
And so they don't know when Jake and Randy are going to mix it up. But as I said earlier, clearly it wasn't at Survivor Series because they pulled Jake from the match, and Savage doesn't wrestle at Survivor Series. I don't know if he appears or not, but he doesn't wrestle. And Jack Tunney does reinstate him, and they have a match at this Tuesday in Texas.
So the last shot, the one last thing I want to mention about that whole thing with the snake in the ring is before it cuts, you see this shot and Jake is like, I don't know if he's on his hands and knees or if he's laying down in the ring, but it's from behind the snake and the snake is to the right side of your screen. Jake's to the left and they're basically looking at each other. And Jake is giving the snake this look. He's got this just fucking shit-eating grin on his face. And he's like, yeah, we did it, buddy. We did it. And it is the coolest because it's just a cool shot, but you're looking, Jake's communicating with this snake. And it's like, this was their plan all along. And it perfectly conveys in this cartoon world just how evil this motherfucker was. And it's just cool. It's like, I mean, I know we've fucking talked about Jake quite a bit on this show before. I know Brett is a huge fan of Jake the Snake, and it's just great. He works even in this goofy, cartoony world. He really is effective. So
badass, man. When Brett was talking about Jake, this is about a month ago. Brett was talking about Jake and said, Jake might be on the Mount Rushmore, and I thought that just kind of stayed in my head. And I watched a bunch of Jake stuff since then, and I'm like, he'd make my top 10 maybe. Like he's close. He's close. Like he's really, really good. Yeah. And if he hadn't been so burnt out and drugged out and alcoholed out by this point, and he had just stayed in WWF and worked this character more, no telling what he could have done. But he wanted to leave and go to WCW, and that's a whole other story.
Jake is the...
Go ahead.
Well, no, he's the guy that, like, when people talk about wrestlers with demons, he's like the first time I ever heard an announcer say, well, Jake's got his demons. It was Jake. And it is a damn shame because, that guy was fucking good, dude. I mean, he's the dude that, like, everybody says, oh, he might have not been the best in the ring, bell to bell or whatever. But it truly did not matter. He was also fantastic. That's the thing is he doesn't have that style. He's not a Shawn Michaels. He's not a Bret Hart, whatever.
Right.
But like, holy shit, dude. Jake just like economy of motion. Everything he does is perfect. Everything he does sells his character. There's not a single thing he does that isn't working. And it's so good, dude.
Well, and he kind of figured out how to mimic a snake, in so many different of his movements and stuff. Like he really...
He slithers.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, he slithers. The way like somebody tries to body slam him and he slides behind him. Like there's just like, you said the economy of movement. I love that phrase.
Thanks.
Jake's he was just really, really special. And so
and
there's a behind the scenes story about this segment.
With Savage?
Yes, with Savage.
And make sure it's not poisonous.
Yeah, so Savage, before this segment, Savage says to Roberts, you sure that snake's devenomized? And Jake's like, yes, like totally. And there was even a snake handler there who said, like, yes, it's been devenomized.
I don't even think it has fangs.
And Savage is like, no, it does. You see him because it chomps down. I mean,
he's bleeding pretty bad. Yeah.
So Savage is like, I don't trust it, brother. If it's devenomized, let it bite you. So Jake had to let this snake bite him in the locker room before they did the segment, probably on the leg somewhere, so you wouldn't see it. But Jake had to take the cobra bite himself earlier in the day because Randy Savage was very paranoid and did not trust.
I was going to say notoriously paranoid. So it goes, the next thing on the show goes into Mean Gene in front of that green screen.
Yep.
Green screen Gene interviewing the natural disasters and IRS. Jake comes out, and one of the coolest lines of Jake the Snake's promos, he's talking to the Legion of Doom, and he says, you guys were the biggest guys in your neighborhood, but I guess my neighborhood just had a lot bigger men. And then the natural disasters come out. It's like that. It's just a cool line. And the other great line that I loved was, he says, Elizabeth, if Randy Savage does show up on Thanksgiving for Survivor Series, he's not going to be home for Christmas.
Yeah.
Oh, fucking A, Jake.
Good shit.
So good
shit. And I thought Jake could have had like a prime time main event run with this character. You know?
Sure.
And he might have actually had that if he had stayed, but he didn't. And so, you know, watching this angle now, it's like you do see all the kids that they shot to in the crowd.
Mhm.
It's like unconscionable that they did this. Like
on many levels.
many levels. Many levels. It is unconscionable and wrong
I
that they ever
cannot
did this.
imagine that snake was treated properly.
Absolutely not.
And that's just the least of it, you know?
Yeah.
Like
there was, you know, there was a lot of animal based characters in the 80s.
Yeah.
You know, there's the British Bulldogs, there's Coco Beware with the bird, there's many others too, you know, and Jake the Snake, certainly. But this had been a promotion modeled after being for, you know, for families.
Yeah.
For them to have a cobra bite into a man's forearm in front of their children, I would have been so fucking pissed if I was them. Now, I will say I was an 11-year-old watching this and I thought it was cool as shit. I thought it was awesome.
Right.
Even though it terrified me.
Right.
I thought it ruled. But
and this is so now as we're putting it together, I'm realizing, I mean, this would have been, I think this is my freshman year of high school. So obviously I thought it was cool as hell, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. It was like the most adult thing WWF had ever done.
Yeah. And it's finally, you know, looking back on
and
it.
Even with the Flair stuff, you see they had opportunities here and they had off ramps, you know, to like pull the trigger and generate big interest. And they kind of fail in every way they can. The follow up to all of this is absolute failure. But anyway.
So next up, so Randy Savage being retired for basically what, 6 to 9 months?
6 months. Yeah.
Is that
7
a thing
months.
that happened? Like my brain now is looking at it like Sting hiding in the rafters for a year. You know what I mean? Where it's like, there's just this constant tease of him coming back. I don't know. Was that a thing that happened a lot where a guy would just kind of like hover that like,
no,
I can't recall any other than like injuries, of course, you know what I mean? But,
yeah, well,
it's just an interesting thing. That's all. I don't know.
I read a somewhat recent biography of Savage, not long ago. And they said around this time that he was kind of embracing just being the character, the Macho Man, and that he was starting to realize that being a wrestler wasn't all he could do. And it wasn't just about commentary. It was about doing charity appearances. It was about, you know,
Slim Jims.
being yes, the Slim Jims, and doing the talk show circuit and being, you know, he realized that he had become an icon. And so I think that when he actually stepped back, he didn't know for sure if he was coming back. Okay. I think Vince thought he was coming. Like Vince was pretty sure he was coming back, you know, but if you look back now, it's pretty clear that at least from the time they announced the match made in heaven and the match made in hell.
Oh yeah.
SummerSlam.
That's for sure.
By the time the wedding happens, they know he's coming back.
You know, he's coming back. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they're building it from then on.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think there were a few months where Savage himself might have thought he's not coming back, but, or might have questioned whether he was coming back.
Sure.
He also did want to try and work on his marriage. I do know that.
Right. I have heard that before too. Yeah. It was kind of a last ditch.
They break up during this whole run. I mean, they break up in late 91, early 92. So like,
I remember seeing in a WWF magazine, like a letter from Randy Savage about, well, we tried to work it out and it didn't happen. And I was like, well, I couldn't believe that they put that, like they published that in the magazine. That was interesting.
I think they wanted the fans to stop harassing him, about her. Because like, where is she? Where is she?
Well, because the lead up to WrestleMania 8 was him and Ric Flair, and it was the whole, oh, she's yours, but I had her first. And
she was mine before she was yours.
Right.
Yes.
The doctored photos and all that stuff. And which that's another show.
Yep.
Next match. So during that interview, real quick though, they're interviewing the bad guys. And Mean Gene is like, Randy Savage, it's just been announced. Randy Savage is coming back for Survivor Series. And then IRS grabs the mic and says, I reviewed the contract. He's not coming back for Survivor Series. And Mean Gene says, well, he'll be there. So within the course of a promo, they changed their mind several times. Anyway, next match. This is kind of a momentous occasion. Ted DiBiase versus Virgil, a rematch from the previous WrestleMania where Virgil had broken free with the advice of Roddy Piper, broken free from Ted DiBiase and defeated him for the $1 million belt. This is a rematch for said $1 million belt.
This is the only time on these showdowns where anything actually newsworthy happens.
Yep. And there is a girl in the crowd with a dollar sign painted on her cheek, and it's painted on backwards. And all I could think was, you painted that on in the mirror, and you didn't realize it was backwards when you did it, and that made me laugh.
So good. Good. So what had happened is they had faced each other so after Savage lost the retirement match, Sherry, Sensational Sherry, had attacked.
Right.
And Elizabeth made the save and threw Sherry out of the ring, and Elizabeth and Savage reunited. Later that same night, DiBiase and Virgil wrestled. And Virgil beat Ted DiBiase by countout, I think. So he didn't actually win the $1 million belt.
Oh, he didn't win it at WrestleMania?
Not at WrestleMania. So then...
My bad.
And Piper was on a crutch, I remember. He was in Virgil's corner.
Right.
And Piper gets in the ring and tries to help Virgil somehow. And Sherry runs down and kind of helps Ted DiBiase.
Right.
And that's how you realize Sherry and DiBiase are now going to be a thing.
Right.
Then at SummerSlam, they have another match for the $1 million belt. And Virgil wins it by cracking DiBiase with the $1 million belt and getting the pin.
Okay. Sorry. My memory's a little off.
No, totally. I get it. We're just a few months later, and I think they realize, fuck, there is nothing to Virgil. There's just nothing to this guy.
No. Well, that was the whole thing when Virgil broke away from DiBiase. You had been waiting for this for years because DiBiase obviously, was just horrible to him. And even within that feud, Roddy Piper was the most interesting part as like Virgil, at least on the good guy side of things, being his inspiration. Yeah, Virgil, I don't think Virgil's like a terrible wrestler per se.
He's not. No.
This is actually the best match probably on the show tonight.
Yeah, it is.
If you have ever at any point encountered Virgil at a comic book convention, he is the absolute most annoying. You're smiling because you know what I'm talking about. We would see Virgil at the Motor City Comic Con every fucking year, and you would take the longest path to avoid being anywhere near Virgil's table because he would harass you. He grabbed my friend Bill's ass one time, just like, hey, you want to come over? Hey, you want to buy an autograph? Hey. And it's like, Virgil, stop like fucking accosting me, dude. He was horrible. Go on. Do you have a Virgil story?
Well, it's okay. It won't happen again because he's dead. So
he is dead. Yes.
Yes.
Jesus, that dude was irritating.
Yes. But
so anyway, this is a match that happens.
And it's a good match.
It is a good match. Virgil's
for what it is
going for pins, which I thought was smart because he knows he can't beat him, DiBiase's so good here. You just see all the great stuff about Ted DiBiase in this match. Like, how did this guy never get a world title run? Unbelievable. Right?
Like, I got a hot take. So I'm a big Kurt Hennig guy, right? Like I love Kurt Hennig. But if I could only pick one, I'd pick DiBiase over him. I think DiBiase's a more complete guy than
I would agree
Kurt
with that.
Hennig. Yeah. Hennig the selling is too comedic sometimes for me.
Mhm.
It's just too over the top, too silly, too Looney Tunes. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah.
Shawn Michaels could do that stuff. You know, I mean, there's the match with Hogan, but like he kind of sold that way for a lot of people, you know?
Sure.
I remember seeing him lose to Rey Mysterio one time, and he takes a 619, and his sell of it is so over the top that
Shawn?
in a way Shawn,
Okay.
that he's kind of conveying to you, this is fake. You know what I mean? Like he couldn't really beat me. You know what I mean?
Right.
But like, it's a subtle burial. You know what I mean? And so with Hennig, it's kind of the same thing sometimes where it's just a little too much.
Mhm.
DiBiase just, man, his shit looked great. Everything he did looked great.
That that fist that he would just drop on you.
Yeah.
Love it.
And apparently he blew out like he's had a lot of shoulder problems later, and he says it's because of that fist drop.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was actually my favorite thing he did was those fist drops.
Yeah, I love it.
It's kind of like the knee that Flair would do to a dude laying down off the ropes. It was kind
it's
of
like his
fist.
trademark. It's not his finisher, but it's like a cool little trademark that he does. I'll tell you why DiBiase, we say it's shocking he never won the world title, but that goes back to our conversation in previous weeks about how once Hogan was done with you, you dropped down to the card to where you were fighting a man who's literally never won a match in his entire career, and he's beating you. Yeah. I did like I was saying, I liked the way that Virgil kept going for pins. It was like the story they were telling is that Virgil knew he couldn't beat him. You know what I mean? Which is the rare occasion you see that. At one point, DiBiase, Vince calls him, "Oh, DiBiase's got a handful of tights." And Bobby Heenan says, "It's just Virgil. It's okay. You can do that."
There's also another point where Heenan says something and Vince goes, you and Jake the Snake Roberts have something in common. You both kind of aren't very humane. And Bobby Heenan goes, "Well, I believe the bushwhacker should be put down."
Heenan's fucking great, dude.
Heenan's amazing.
One-liners. He's so
amazing.
Good.
Amazing. This is on YouTube, guys. Go watch it. Survivor Series Showdown 1991.
So the Repo Man, 3-time WWF Tag Team Champion. At this point, the longest reigning WWF Tag Team Champions with a little over a year and a half.
Yeah.
That was when he was in Demolition, but he's not in Demolition anymore, ladies and gentlemen. Now he is a Repo Man, and he steals things, and everything he does is about stealing, just like IRS only ever talks about taxes. He steals the $1 million belt, cracks Virgil in the head with it. DiBiase gets the pin, stuffs the money in his mouth. At this point, I'm taking notes on my phone, and my phone auto-corrects DiBiase to Devious, which I think is really fucking cool and is worth pointing out because DiBiase's awesome. Who should come out to save Virgil but his longtime friend El Matador? So that happened also. Formerly Tito Santana, formerly Intercontinental Champion and Tag Champ, right?
Yep.
Was it Strike Force? Yep. I did not like the Matador gimmick at all. I don't have anything good to say about it.
No, it's a terrible stereotype. But these two, it was kind of weird that these two
beyond being a terrible stereotype, which it is, it's also boring as shit, and nobody cares about fucking matadors.
Now, listen, I am a big Tito Santana fan. Okay,
sure.
The dude was great. Like he was like X-Pac before X-Pac, where they put him in the ring with guys to see how they did. You know what I mean? Like him and Brett did that, where they feel people out. Also, I remember thinking Tito being kind of smaller back in the day. He's fucking jacked as shit.
Oh, he's big.
He's massive.
Yeah.
He's huge.
That's another criminal thing is he's not that old at this point. He's in good shape. You didn't need to give him that gimmick.
It was just a remodel, to see if this could get over more than the generic white tights Tito Santana, who I actually strongly prefer to this.
Absolutely. Because it's the Matador is stupid.
The Matador's so dumb.
It's as stupid as the Repo Man. It's as stupid as the Duke the Dumpster Josie or the fucking
This is all
toilet
foreshadowing
guy.
these gimmicks, though. It's you know, it's El Matador, it's the Berserker, Skinner,
The Dragon.
The Dragon. Oh God, they don't even call him
Dude.
Ricky Steamboat. They just call him the Dragon. Oh, so bad. I have the action figure of the Dragon, by the way, and it's awesome. Love it. But
I saw him at that same house show where he breathed fire when the Bushwhackers licked me. I saw The Undertaker. And on that same show, I might add, I saw a wrestler by the name of Mr. Madness because he couldn't be the Macho Man because the Macho Man was retired.
wasn't allowed to wrestle,
You're
right?
Right. All these synapses are firing that have not fired since 91.
And we are just building to the worst part of WWF. This is far from the worst. This is WWF starting to crash.
This is like the last vestiges of where it was still decent enough.
Look, I think what you see from this is like the missed opportunities. You know, is the Flair and Hogan thing is going to get sidelined. And that's a huge missed opportunity. Now,
it's the biggest that I could fathom in my entire life.
It's still one of the biggest in WWF's history. Period.
Yeah.
Like ever. Like it's such a fumble.
How did you not pull the trigger on that?
Because 3 years later, WCW did it while both of those guys were significantly declined from this point.
Yes.
And they drew huge money. Huge money.
Yeah.
So you can't tell me they wouldn't have drawn money.
I mean, I just always assume it's ego that got in the way. I mean,
Vince, it's been said that they had house show matches in New York and Albany specifically that didn't draw very well. And so Vince just decided that Flair was too much of a Southern character to draw. But then he's fighting Savage. He wins the Rumble right after, you know, like they set it up perfectly. It's just such a shame. It really is such a shame. I'm trying to see what Virgil. Okay. So the match that these two would eventually have at Survivor Series, Ric Flair's team is Ric Flair, the Mountie, Ted DiBiase, and the Warlord. If you want to know how far Ted DiBiase has fallen, he's not even the captain of his own team anymore.
Right.
He's just one of Ric Flair's guys. And they defeat Roddy Piper, Bret Hart, Virgil, and the British Bulldog in 22:48. Now, this is a funny match because in the actual match, Ric Flair pins the British Bulldog and Roddy Piper pins the Warlord. Piper and Flair were feuding at the time.
Right. Which was a callback to their previous feud in like what? I don't know.
Crockett,
I guess. Okay.
Yeah. They had been longtime rivals,
which
and
is
in real life, really good friends.
Mind blowing to see them, even though they never directly referenced it. You knew as a fan if you were reading the wrestling magazines and stuff.
Yep. They had a long history.
Yeah.
The rest of the guys on the team of this Survivor Series team. So again, the Bulldog gets pinned, the Warlord gets pinned. Everybody else gets in a 2-team brawl on the outside, and the refs counting while they're brawling, and Flair either gets rolled in or basically kind of accidentally lands on the apron. And Flair, everybody besides Ric Flair gets counted out at once. And Flair's declared the winner, the sole survivor.
Fantastic.
I think that's a great finish.
I think it is too.
I love the original Survivor Series. I love the eliminations. I love elimination matches. It's like one of my favorite things. I wish triple threats and 4-ways and stuff, if they were elimination, they'd be so much better.
Well, and team elimination matches are cool because, you end up with this 1-on-4 sometimes or 3-on-2 or whatever it might be. Anyway, we're not talking about the Survivor Series tonight. We're talking about the Survivor Series Showdown, which took place just a few days before the Survivor Series in 1991. And the next thing we see, again, we're talking about history and historical moments. Pro Wrestling's answer to Mike Anthony from Van Halen, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, comes to the ring. He also has cool fucking music. It's patriotic, but like, ba 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 ba. Da,
you like
da,
this?
Da, da, ha. Like I like his music. Have you seen Jim Duggan like before WWF?
Yeah,
like he's cool. You know what I mean?
In
he's
Mid-South, yeah.
Yeah, like he's a fucking bruiser and shit. Totally fucking hated him in WWF.
I hate patriotic gimmicks.
I hate
just
patriotic
hate
gimmicks, but I also hate, like, I hated him for the same reasons I'd hated the Bushwhackers. I don't like gimmicks that are designed to be goofy for 7-year-olds, because even 7-year-olds can see through that shit. Like,
his cadence, the way he
never
talks,
appealed to me.
It's like he's talking to a little kid.
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you something, tough guy.
It's like he's talking down to a little kid.
Right.
He's not, and I never fucking talk like that to my kids, and my kids are super smart. Anyway, he introduces his partner, Sergeant Slaughter, who I think at this point must have just finally been, quote unquote, redeemed.
He wanted his country back.
He wants his country back. So Sergeant Slaughter comes out, and then he leads the crowd in the Pledge of Allegiance. It's exactly as painful as you can imagine. And I don't even think the piped in crowd was cheering this. I'm
going to tell you something right now. I hate Sergeant Slaughter so much. Yep. I hate him so much. And
I hated him in wrestling. I hated him in G.I. Joe.
I hate everything about Sergeant Slaughter. He sucks ass. He's terrible. His in-ring work is sloppy and lazy. There's nothing to him. He says the fucking Pledge of Allegiance.
Exactly. It's the
to the crowd.
Fucking gimmick. The best thing that the man ever did in his career was to align himself with Saddam Hussein.
Yeah.
That's the most exciting part of his career.
Yeah. And he's turned against Saddam, and he's turned against Colonel Mustafa, who's on the opposite team in this match.
Heenan points that out, that he turned his back on him. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So who's really the traitor? You can't
trust him one way or the other.
Yeah. The other thing is that the truth about Sergeant Slaughter is he has told people his entire career that he really was a Marine. Mm-hmm. And he was not. There is no record of this man ever being a Marine. And he's been participating in stolen valor.
Yeah. He's based his entire career on it.
And if anybody asks him about it, he stops an interview and walks out. He won't pick up the phone if he thinks you're going to ask him about it.
Right.
He is a fucking cunt. I hate this guy. Fuck him.
Yep. So we're on the same page.
And when you say the Pledge of Allegiance in a promo, fuck you. Fuck you.
He can't even be bothered to do a promo.
Jesus.
So the next match,
the other thing that was funny is Gene Okerlund saying the Pledge of Allegiance.
Puts his hand on his chest.
Yeah. It's so stupid. This is so cringy. It's so bad.
So, so the next match we have Skinner versus El Matador. This brought back another memory of how unbelievably long, it's really probably only a minute long, but I felt like El Matador's entrance just took days. And I remember that was like a running joke with my friends and I, that like it took him forever to get to the ring. Then he did his little like dance with his cape and all that shit. It really wasn't that long, but it just like, that was just a thing that I didn't like that gimmick. It was really not cool.
Okay.
It wore green and pink too.
Yes. Okay. So let's talk about that for a minute. Two things. Let's talk about the music first. So I don't know if you remember Tito's music before this.
No.
Banger.
Yeah.
All right. So Jim Johnston, whenever he did anything for Tito Santana, just went nuts with the synth horns and shit. Like he's from Mexico, lots of horns, and the original Survivor Series music, like all of that stuff, just shitloads of synth horns, which I usually cannot stand. And for whatever reason, the original Survivor Series and Tito Santana's original music are dope. They're great. Rick Rude, same thing. Just lazy.
Oh, he's just got that slutty fucking music, man. It's just so good.
Horniest, sluttiest music. Yes, totally. And then when he becomes El Matador, they give him this like more traditional Mexican sounding music that sucks so bad. I hate his fucking music.
Yeah,
I hate it.
it's a taste of south of the border as prepared by your grandmother, your
Yes.
very white grandmother.
Yes, exactly.
And then, what is that fucking white people tacos song? Like,
oh god,
yeah, no, Jim Johnson. That's what it feels like to me. It's just,
and then he wears green and neon pink,
which is not like a matador.
So a matador wears green.
Maybe.
And
maybe he wears tan even.
Or like tan or yellow or whatever, right?
Remember that Take a Bow video that Madonna did with the matador?
Yes.
A few years later, you could have done that gimmick and that might have been cool and made him like this sultry kind of sexy matador, but he was not.
If he had a muted color that went with the green he was wearing,
sure.
Automatically this gimmick is better. The fucking cape that he's using that's supposed to be red is fucking neon pink.
Yeah.
This is disgusting. It's an abomination. It's a crime against color.
And the fact that they would put these gimmicks on talent like Tito Santana or the Dragon with Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, where he became now the fire breathing was cool. I will give him that. But like,
sure,
they would take these guys that you knew that you grew up with and that you knew were talented and then just mire them with these terrible, terrible, goofy gimmicks. Not good.
Well, in Steamboat's case, by not calling him Ricky Steamboat, you're basically like, this guy was the Intercontinental Champion.
Yeah.
He won the title at what at the time was considered the greatest match in WrestleMania history.
Right.
Like,
that's the match that everybody of a certain age, when they say what inspired you to be a wrestler, it's that match.
Yeah.
A
lot of wrestlers of the Jericho generation grew up with that match, and so to call him just the Dragon and act like he's been nobody before this is like, what are you doing?
It's
so, and then Steve Kern, aka Skinner,
right, who's just gross.
Walks. It's so
and the Florida Man,
gross. Yeah, I didn't know. He's basically Florida Man. Yes.
Yeah.
I could
He's an
easily
alligator hunter.
have seen him huffing bath salts and just doing whatever. But instead, he walks down to the ring with a cup, with a tin cup, and chew just pouring down his beard. It's disgusting. And then they have the longest match on this show.
Yep.
And at one point, Vince McMahon goes, Skinner's, it's all Skinner. It's Skinner's on top the whole time. Yeah. And Vince goes, Skinner's an unconventional type of wrestler. And it's like, Vince, he's had him in a headlock for 6 minutes. Like, he's not unconventional.
It's just so bad. Headlock. And at one point, like a leg lock of some sort.
Yeah.
And it's like, Steve Kern is not bad. And right? I mean, was he one of like the fabulous ones or something?
Yeah, with Stan Lane.
Right?
He was a hugely popular wrestler.
Right. And so, I mean, you have guys that can wrestle and they just don't. A lot of stalling. They walk into the crowd. This is where I mentioned that it's like Sesame Street Live in my notes because they're just going out into the crowd and talking and whatever. And then I
would have been pissed if I was Tito Santana, to be honest. Because I have to get this dude's fucking tobacco juice all over me. Like, fuck this shit.
And then I think, Vince and Bobby never talk about the match. The only thing they talk about is the death of Hulkamania.
Yep. And
then so this is what I had in my notes. Bobby Heenan is talking about Jack Tunney's stupid. Don't reinstate Savage. And Vince says something about, well, maybe you should be president of the WWF. And Bobby Heenan says, maybe I should be. And then Vince says, maybe someday you can run for president like David Duke. And if you guys don't remember David Duke, he was, I think, the Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan that ran for president.
Yep. Well, he ran for governor of Louisiana first and lost. And then he ran
because he
president.
Was the leader of the Klan.
He was the leader of the Ku Klux Klan.
It wasn't dog whistles, folks. He was literally the leader of the Ku Klux Klan.
And he pretended not that he had reformed during those times. And then when he didn't win either race, he just went back to being the same guy.
Yeah. It's kind of a Sergeant Slaughter gimmick. So anyway, and that Vince, and then current politics, and we just won't get into that. You guys can connect all the dots.
He literally, he didn't say Bill Clinton. He didn't say the actual president, George Bush, at the time.
He mentions David Duke. Well,
he says
I guess
David Duke.
And that's the other thing, is it's like, if this is supposed to be a kids program, okay, I get that you're comparing Bobby Heenan to a despicable person.
Yes.
It just doesn't. It's weird. He
doesn't say it with a lot of animosity towards.
No,
David
he
Duke.
just kind of says, maybe you can run for like David Duke.
Yeah.
Like, he just leaves out the part where he says, my buddy David Duke. Anyway,
right. Exactly.
Yeah. Tito Santana hits him in the back of the head with a punch, flying forearm. Then we get to my other favorite part of the show. I have like 5 favorite parts of the show.
Well, hold on.
Is there anything else you want to say about that match before we move on? Oh,
yes.
God, I'm sorry. Fuck you.
You're going to make me talk about this shit some more?
I was trying to get past it.
Nope. So, El Matador. So, Tito Santana's finisher before he was El Matador was a flying forearm to the face, knocks you out. And, Jesse Ventura would call it a flying burrito or whatever. Tito Santana hated that, by the way. Like, he thought all of that. The name of his biography is Don't Call Me
offensive.
Chico.
Yeah.
The name of his biography is Don't Call Me Chico.
Yeah.
So
I can understand that.
Yes. And so so they're like, you're going to be
with a donkey punch in the back of the head.
Yeah, you're going to be El Matador. We need to do something different. So Tito gets his ass kicked this entire match. Like, no offense whatsoever. He just getting his ass kicked. He hits like 2 moves and donkey punches Skinner in the back of the head and pins him. That's it. Yeah. That's it. That's the sum total of everything. But that's when Luke beat Bo Beverly earlier in this card, it's like he just gets 2 moves in and pins him.
Yeah.
Like,
you don't need to pay attention to the wrestling at all. And you're you are punished if you do. Like, you should not pay attention to
Gravely punished.
Speaking of graves, coming up next, very soon, is the Gravest Challenge, which is going to be the most challenging thing that Hulk Hogan has ever done in his career. However, in his interview with Mean Gene, he states that when the big man upstairs bled on his crucifix, which he wears around his neck, that is why he wears red, because it symbolizes the fact that Jesus Christ gave Hulk Hogan the power of immortality. Mm-hmm. Well, guess what, Hulk? You're fucking dead now.
Yeah, you're fucking dead.
If
people
there
are
is
trying
a
to forget.
hell, you are burning in it right now.
Yes.
He fucking says that Jesus bled on his cross to make him immortal. I'd have to say it a second time. Go on.
Yeah. And he gives this, he never says the word Jesus, but
the big man upstairs.
The big man upstairs.
And he says,
the color of red.
Though I walk through the valley of shadow, I fear no Undertaker, brother.
You can't even get the quote right. And then...
Yeah, I know it because my parents made me go to Catholic school for 8 years.
Yeah. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Right. Like, is that what you're trying to say, Terry?
Something like that. The Undertaker is in the Bible. He's one of the stations of the cross.
And so Hogan cuts this super Christian promo.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I hated this at the time because I wasn't a Christian. I wasn't raised Christian. So like, my mom was like Christian casual, where it's like we go to church, but it wasn't like a huge part of our lives. So she'd take me and my brother to church, but her and my dad had this deal. Like, if the boys don't want to keep doing this, you can't make them.
Mm-hmm.
As long as they're fine going to Sunday school or whatever, that's fine. But the minute they don't want to do this, they don't have to.
I like your dad.
Yeah, we both got to that point where it's just like, yeah, we don't want to. And then eventually my mom stopped going. She goes on Christmas Eve now.
Well, my parents were the kind of people who would make you go to church on Sunday, and I would say, I don't want to go to church. And my mom would say, you could give at least an hour of your week to God. And I would say, I just went to church on Friday at school because you're making me go to a Catholic school. So how about if that was the hour that I gave and that did not fly?
Wow.
Yeah.
You had him dead to rights on that one too.
I did have him dead to rights, and that was fucking bullshit. And
you out-logicked him, that's for sure.
Yep. So we'll get into I'm not a religious person. Go on. That's another podcast called Professor Degree's Atheist Class. Anyway, go on.
Just sticking with the theme. So after, terrible Christian promo.
How I broke away from the church.
They're trying to do some weak ass exorcist shit, basically. The Undertaker's a demon and he's repulsed by the cross. Oh, and that was the thing. So Hogan also says in the interview, when I felt that dead flesh touch my skin, brother, it started to burn. Yeah. And he's talking about the Undertaker starting to burn because of the cross.
Yeah, because Hogan was so pure. And it's interesting, though, because when you think about, let's connect the dots between the David Duke thing, between the McMahons being like some of Trump's largest donors, the evangelical movement tying itself with Republicans, all of this. And then 2026, blue sky, a bunch of people are going, wow, I can't believe fucking wrestlers are saying fuck ICE. Well, it's because Vince McMahon convinced everyone that wrestling fans were redneck fucking Christian hypocrites. And this is where you're seeing it all come to fruition.
Yes. And I think just in keeping with the rest of the show, by the way, El Matador was on a team with Sergeant Slaughter, Jim Duggan, and the Texas Tornado. And they defeated Colonel Mustafa, the Berserker, Skinner, and Hercules.
Because that team makes sense.
Just makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. Had Power and Glory already been a thing by then?
I don't know.
I don't care.
I feel like they should have been. So speaking of Hercules, the main event tonight is Hercules and Piper. It's what I like to refer to as a lock up and stomp around match, where you do a collar and elbow lockup thing, and then you just jump up and down like you're on a fucking whatever.
Very much a Roddy Piper match of its time.
It is.
Yes.
And
lots of punches, lots of kicks.
Piper, I mentioned this to you a few days ago, and I thought it even back then. He is the Jack Tripper of the WWF. He reminds me of John Ritter in like his physically. He his hair looks like him.
He's got the feathered hair. Yeah,
his hair flops around a lot. His Hulk up moment, when he like has had enough and he starts shaking his head, like he's all, I don't want to say he's pratfalls like John Ritter would have been, because it's wrestling, so of course it's pratfalls. But yeah, I see a lot of connections between their style of comedy or aggressive comedy or whatever. So
I really thought the more interesting thing in this match for me was actually seeing Hercules for the first time in years and years and years, and realizing that dude was a good athlete. Like, he bumped around for Piper. Like, he flew all over the goddamn place. Piper didn't do shit.
That lockup thing where their hands are locked up and like
it's a test of strength.
I don't even know how to what's that?
And then they do a test of strength, and Hercules has the obvious advantage. And then Piper turns it under, and Hercules
it's like he goes underneath him somehow.
Yeah, and Hercules acts like he's being, like his wrists are being broken or something. And Piper,
it's cool.
It's cool. It doesn't. I don't think it actually would work that way. But
there's no
cool
possible way it would work.
Yeah, but Herc is just on his way out the door, kind of at this point. He is definitely not to be taken seriously. But I actually thought he looked great as far as being a wrestler. And then I looked him up on Wikipedia. That dude had 7 kids.
Holy shit!
7 children.
My mom and dad had 7 children.
Look how good you turned out, right?
Full circle into the whole Catholic story.
Yes, exactly. And then he died in 2004, Hercules. I didn't realize it was that long ago. But so, yes. Anyway, happy endings, right?
Yeah.
Piper
and speaking of... Oh, sorry. Yeah, speaking of moves and reversals that don't work, if you've ever been in a figure 4 and then reverse that figure 4, it's just a figure 4 upside down. It hurts just as much, if not more.
Yeah. The guy who put it on still is putting it on.
Yeah.
I don't know why they still do that. And I've seen like lots of great wrestlers I respect do that same spot. Kenny Omega, people like that, where it's just like, Kenny, that doesn't work.
Oh, it's fine though. I don't mind that kind of shit. I chalk that up into the goofiness of wrestling. It's
the
okay.
goofiness of wrestling.
You know, like it's the Looney
a
Tunes.
figure 4 in and of itself
does hurt.
If somebody would let you put them in it,
oh yeah,
they kind of have to. Like,
yeah.
like my brother and I,
it requires a lot of setup.
It hurts. Like if you could really get it on somebody, you could break their leg easily. It's Buddy Rogers actually created that move, and Ric Flair is the one who added the like twist around thing to it.
Okay, yeah, I like Flair's style. And then the last thing they do is there's an interview with Flair's team, and then it just kind of abruptly stops.
The interview at the end, Flair is really pumped up. He almost talks over Bobby Heenan for a second and then kind of holds back. But you can tell Rick feels like he's about to do something really important in wrestling. Like he looks rejuvenated. He looks like he's feeling alive and he's excited.
Well, he says in his book, he talks about like how down he was in WCW and like how jumping ship, like, I mean, like exactly as you said, you know, gave him his confidence back to an extent.
Yeah. And him and Vince didn't have the relationship during this time that they eventually would have later. But, and I do know Vince like got on Rick a lot for acting too much like a Southern heel and stuff.
Sure.
But Flair cuts a very intense, passionate promo. Perfect is out there. Heenan's out there. This is before Bobby basically stops being Flair's manager because he just can't be near a ring anymore. Like he just can't be around bumps and stuff. Yeah. And they cut a promo. And like I said, DiBiase just stands there. Like it's so weird to see him just be somebody's like, he's always been the leader of everything he's done throughout his entire career. You know? And
then you have Flair. I don't remember what he says about like the power of the Warlord. I remember the cunning of the Mountie, which was great. But it's a bizarre team. And yeah, I don't know. It certainly wasn't any type of Horseman. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. Yeah. And they go off air.
And then that's it. It just goes off the air.
Yeah. WWF at this time is so fascinating because in some ways it's actually kind of more watchable than the great stuff, because the great stuff, you're just like, this is really good. This stuff is like, they had an opportunity here and they passed on some like cool stuff, but imagining where they could have gone. I think the steroid scandal was starting to grow by this point. And so that's probably why Hogan and Flair didn't happen, because I think Hogan would have had to do the job to Flair so that he could leave for a while.
Sure.
I remember in the build to WrestleMania 8, which was the year after this, so 92, they kept teasing that, in the magazine and kind of everywhere, that Hogan's match versus Sid was going to be his last match ever.
Right.
And I'm like, why? Like,
I remember that.
They never had a good reason for it. And so I was like, why would it be his last match? That doesn't make any sense.
I think Vince, maybe it's the steroid scale. That makes sense now. With Hogan and the Savage retirement, it always just seems like, and I don't know if this is Vince or if this is just me making something up. Like we want to put these guys out to pasture so that they can be our ambassadors, so to speak. They can do the talk shows, they can do whatever. And then the Warrior is going to be the new guy, or Sid Justice or Lex Luger. And none of those panned out. And they were all like pseudo Hogans. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I have nothing to back that up. That's just kind of my,
I think as well with Savage in particular, there's this pseudo retirement that they bring him back. But just a few years later, Vince is trying to put him on commentary full-time all over again.
Right.
And Savage doesn't want to do that. And that's an example where you see how wrong Vince was in that case. Like, look, you lose Jim Duggan. He didn't lose much,
Right.
But Hogan and Savage both proved they had many miles left on their careers. They had Savage and Hogan both wrestle another 5 or 6 years and become massive moneymakers. And Vince I applaud him for trying to be productive and thinking ahead and like,
Sure.
you know, because to me, Hulkamania was never that interesting. I didn't watch it when it started.
Yeah.
So when I came in, it was like 89. You know, it had already.
That's the thing that
peaked.
got me back into, you know, I mean, other than like the 80s, the early 80s boom, which I didn't really watch. I just was aware of it. I watched the cartoon. But hearing that this guy, the Ultimate Warrior, who's like a comic book superhero, had beaten Hulk Hogan was extremely appealing to me in, you know, 6th or 7th or 8th grade or whatever it was, because you're ready for that to be done. It's time. Optimus Prime fucking died in the Transformers movie. I thought that was cool as shit. You know what I mean? Like, it was time to move
like
on.
that. They broke my heart with that shit.
That's because, well, I'm a cold individual.
You are, you sick fuck.
I am trying to get out of going to church, trying to fucking I'm cheering
like,
for Optimus
kill
Prime's
Optimus
death.
Prime.
I don't like Hulk Hogan, you know,
till the wheels fall off.
Exactly, literally, because he was a truck.
He was a truck. Yeah. See, I was making a clever pun. Didn't even.
That was good. You're punny. You're very punny. So that's the Survivor Series Showdown 1991. You can find it on YouTube. If any of this sounds appealing to you, you might have a problem. But no, it was actually pretty cool. You can find it on YouTube, and you should. You should dig it up. Like
we were saying, the wrestling is beside the point. It really doesn't matter that much.
And it was then as well.
Yes, the run-ins and the people who cost people the matches, that's where the drama is in WWF. And that's the only place it is. You know, WCW very much still has that veneer of let's see who the best man is.
Right.
But that is not what, you know, the only time that's ever really on the table is like the main event of WrestleMania. But like, aside from that, the wrestling is pretty much secondary to everything else. Yep.
This was the point. I loved WWF for their production values, obviously, because the show looked like $1 million back then. Mm-hmm. I liked WCW because that was when I was starting to figure out what wrestling really was. And, you know, if it was always kind of like, oh, if only you could marry the aspects that I like from each show, it would have been something cool, but no.
All right. Well, Degree, this is the last actual review that we will ever do on The Hard Way. How did it feel?
Well, it felt great. I thought the good news was going to be that I wasn't going to have to do a podcast with you anymore. But it seems like I can't escape bad news no matter which way I turn.
Yeah, they call me Bad News Blade. It's a tribute to Bad News Brown. But I don't have a ghetto blaster to hit you with, my friend. So the hit is just that you have to keep working with me.
Great, because it seems like I'll be stuck with you forever. Forever. Forever.
Pro Wrestling Forever is coming your way very soon. Like I said, you guys will be notified in this feed, so continue to follow this podcast, and we'll let you know where to follow Pro Wrestling Forever when it's ready to roll, when we have our own channels. That's coming very soon, though, and we'll let you know where to find it. But until then, Degree.
Ladies and gentlemen, he's iBlade Daily. I'm the toast of the Third Coast, Professor Degree, and this has been Professional Wrestling the Hard Way.
Sickos Club.
We'll cut it right there. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No. So I don't want these fucking marks. Like, we're not going to say thank you or anything, right?
No, I mean, we could say it, but we're not going to mean it, right?
I mean, no.
I don't give a shit if they're listening to this show or not.
Yeah. Fuck. Fucking just maybe fucking marks.
Like I know anything about. I've never even watched a pro wrestling match.
Yeah. Well, like, what the fuck is Survivor Series?
I know, right?
Whatever.